Welcome to 1 Million Cups. If you would please grab a seat. We've got some open seats here on the front. Thanks, Bob. Good morning. My name is Milton Jeffrey. I'm one of the organizers here for 1 Million Cups, and I'm here with Courtney, Brian, and Toby, some of our other organizers. We want to welcome you to 1 Million Cups this morning. Do we have any first-time visitors with us today? If you just wave your hand, welcome. Welcome. We're glad you came today. Any of our 1 Million Cups veterans? All right. All right. Good to see you also. For those of you here for the first time, 1 Million Cups is an entrepreneurial program led by the Kauffman Foundation, whereas we have two presenters typically would come each week and present their journey about their business for about 6 minutes, and we open it to Q&A. Today we've got something a little bit different for you. But we also want to, do we have a panel today? Nope. No panel today, so what will happen is we'll go ahead and have our presenters come up. We'll be taking questions from the audience during the Q&A time. All you've got to do is raise your hand, and we'll be running around with the mics here. So without further ado, we want to bring up our first presenter, Ryan Benet from Idle Smart. Idle Smart has developed and patented a product that works similar to a thermostat in your home, but designed for over-the-road semi-trucks. Welcome, Ryan.
Well, thank you guys for having me. We are excited to be here. I'm joined by my team, one of our owners, Harry Campbell, and our Director of Sales, Keith Barnes. So again, I'm Ryan Bennett with Idle Smart, and we're going to get started today. But when I get started here, I wanted to kind of spend 1 minute talking about what Idle Smart actually does. And so what we do is we have a system that's patented that's automatically will start and stop big over-the-road semi-trucks. So think about it when the drivers stop at night and they're sleeping on the side of the road. And so these guys will go and sleep in the back of their trucks. And so very similar to the way we do at our home, where we go home at night, we have a thermostat that will start and stop our air conditioner heater, keep us comfortable. And really, we don't even think about it, it just happens. Well, when drivers stop for the night, they literally have to think about how they're going to stay cool or warm throughout that time period. And so what we do is instead of running the engine all night, blowing the heat and AC, they turn their engine on and turn us on. And what we do is we monitor the temperature inside the truck. And when it starts to get cold, we literally will automatically start the truck, raise the temperature back up, and turn the truck off, all while the driver's sleeping. By doing this, we're saving around $3,000 in fuel cost per truck per year. So that's what we do. And so we were last here about 2 years ago, almost on the dot, talking about Idle Smart. And I went back and watched that video, and we were incredibly naive about the business and where we were at that time. And so, in the last 2 years, we've been pretty far. And so now we have hundreds of customers across U.S. and Canada, all four corners of the United States. And when I say customers, these are fleets. We go after fleets. And so today, I want to kind of take this opportunity, not so necessarily to talk about Idle Smart, but more to share some experiences we've had. So 1 Million Cups in this audience has been so grateful to us as Idle Smart, so helpful to the crowd, that I wanted to kind of take this chance to share some of the stories that we've kind of learned the last 2 years, some of the pitfalls we ran into, and kind of where we're going. And so the first, really, the big lesson that we've learned is listen to your customers. Ewing Kauffman, Mr. K, right over here, always said, go out and talk to your customers and don't move your mouth. Listen to them. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so we live by that. And so actually, when we started going into the market, we had one customer who we identified that had a big customer that had a big problem that was not being solved with any product on the market, including us. And so what we found out is that when these drivers stopped at night, they were running refrigerators, TVs, microwaves, and throughout the weekend they were leaving all this equipment on, and it was draining these batteries. And when they went to start the truck the next morning, truck would not start. Kind of a big deal in trucking when the trucks don't move. And so what we were able to do is monitor the battery voltage and start the truck periodically to keep those batteries charged. We also protect against cold starts, meaning that when it's really cold on diesel engines, it's hard to start the truck. And so what we've learned by listening to our customers is they had these two problems, and we said, yeah, I think we can solve it. So like every entrepreneur, we actually pre-sold it, had to go manufacture it, had to go develop the software, test it, validate it, and ship it all within 60 days. And so when we started, we were doing our cabin comfort feature there you see on the left. That's what I explained earlier. And now, after 2 years later, we are now using 2 other features, cold weather and battery, and those features are leading our sales. And not only are they, by listening to your customers, helped us get a new customer with a new feature set, but also by doing that, we are now not just targeting over-the-road semi-trucks, but day cabs. And what that means to us as a business is that our over-the-road semi-truck industry is about 3 million trucks strong, and our day cabs is actually 8 million trucks. So now our addressable market almost tripled by us listening to our customers and proving that we can develop that product for it. Last point on this is by us doing our cold weather and battery features and listening to our customers, we are able to develop a pilot program and working on it right now with one of the largest fleets in the entire world. So to us, listening to your customer is kind of a big deal. Lesson 2 that we learned, proven methods don't always work. So when we enter the market, the proven way and all the old timers, everybody in the industry said, hey, you have to go indirect. You sell through a dealership. This is the model that works. Well, for us, that didn't seem to really work for us. And so like every startup, we completely ignored their advice and we went and sold to direct. And so now 80% of our sales are actually direct to the fleet. What this allows us to do is allows us to handle this relationship directly one-on-one with our customers. From the initial point of contact to the end, they have one point of contact, the correct information, and also we now make a personal relationship with our customers that lets us, again, listen to what they're saying. So for us, the proven way wasn't also necessarily the right way for us. We had to find the right way for us to make our sales. Lesson 3, help your customers help themselves. So when we install this unit and we call our customers 60 days later to see how it's working, they say, quote, my drivers haven't complained, so I think it's working. And we're like, are you kidding me? I mean, come on. And so we knew we had to do something differently. We knew that we now had to go and build a remote management and diagnostic reporting tool, all over the air, all online. So now in 60 seconds on a Monday morning, the fleet manager will see 2 things. One is the average gallons of fuel they saved over that week period, so they show them exactly their ROI. And 2, who their outliers were. And whoever their outliers are, they go in there and they can change it and they can manage it. And so for us, we are helping our customers help themselves, making doing the job easier for them, and directly that helps us make more sales, obviously. So the last lesson here, variability kills. So what I mean by this, is when we install our product, the average installation time is about 3 to 4 hours. Sometimes we have 90 minutes, and sometimes on third shift mechanics, we get up to 14 hours. It's not a good experience for anybody. Not our customers, not us, not anybody. So now knowing this, what we have taken out the variability. And so what we have done is we've created software now that does checks along the installation process. So that truck cannot leave until that installation is done on time and correctly. And so for us, it's important to take the variability out of our business. And so the road ahead for IdleSmart, we're excited to be here. We're honored to be here. Like most startups, our journey started with a lot of squiggly lines to the right up here, or to your left up here. And the goal was to get to success, which is like a straight line, your business. And so we're working our way through it. And so we're excited to be here. Like Mr. K, we take a lot of encouragement from other people. And one of those is Coach Wooden, legendary coach. He was famous for doing the small things right every single day, knowing it leads to the end results. And so for us, we show up every single day trying to make our small details correct, knowing it'll lead to the end results of a successful business. And so that's all I have today, and I appreciate the time.
Ryan, thank you.
I would love to bring one of our owners, Harry Campbell, on stage with me, too. I don't know if you guys know him, but Harry Campbell.
Cool. I learned. It's always good to hear him because then I learn what's going on in the company, which is nice.
All right, so we want to open it up to the audience, but is there anything that you want to add to what Ryan has said?
Sure, I'm still irritated about this whole business. And the reason is because I went into it thinking it was going to be easy, even knowing by my association with people here and with Diana Kander and Nathan Kurtz and the people of the world that startups are crooked. This seemed pretty damn straightforward. We wasted the first 15 months because the manufacturer of the product when we bought the company sucked. We had to get rid of them, find somebody locally to do it. Those kind of things you can't make up, and as the funder of the company, that's really annoying. I'm amazed at where we are because we have the right people and we have fast learning going for us big time. We're embracing the crookedness of life And these guys are amazing. We've just hired another person. I think this business has a reasonable chance to be wildly successful, and that's what you would hope for after a couple of years.
Question your left.
So do you guys collect other data elements with your device and like runtime and all of that stuff? And what are your plans to do with that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. We do collect that. It's off the computer of the truck. We use some of it in our analytics that report back on the remote management piece, and other ones we're saving the database to do predictive analytics later. We don't have enough data points yet.
So given where you are today, what would be the biggest advice you would actually give to maybe another company, another entrepreneur within a similar space?
Two main points for me. Flexibility, meaning that when we go and we sell to our customers, we've sold our same exact unit for $5,000 to one customer, and other ones we've had to work a deal where we're selling it for $125 a month. And so for us, it's flexibility to get the deal done. And part of that's being in front of the customer, selling direct, listening to your customers, knowing what it takes to have a win-win solution.
I'll answer that. Two things. First of all, it's all about the people. I heard that before. I was the CEO of an internet startup in 1999 in River Market. I heard it then, I heard it, and I heard it. I have angel invested. I own this company. I'm a co-owner with Jeff Lynch. It is all about the people because the road is going to be twisty and turns. It's going to have bad news, good news, and you want to have the right people, and we do. And if you don't believe that, you get into it, and 3 years later, you are in big trouble. And then the other thing is very simple. Don't believe that what you sell is what people want to buy. Try to figure out what they want to buy and what problem you're solving.
Got a question here in the middle.
Hi, is there anything in terms of your marketing that you felt like you should have done from the beginning, which you realized like halfway through?
So as the guy who runs the marketing, we do not do a good job of that at all. We don't do a good job of marketing. To answer your question, the only thing we regret on the marketing piece, we went and did print advertising because that's what everyone in the industry told us to do, and that did not work. And now everything we do is online. The way we presented the product, we just didn't know our problems until we actually started selling to the customers. So it's hard to know that in advance.
The distribution thing would be true, though. We went to dealers quite a bit at first, right?
Yeah.
That was a marketing issue.
That's right.
You could argue from a distribution channel standpoint, we thought the dealers controlled the fleets and had the relationships, and you go to the dealers, it's all well and good, you have great meetings, and then they're selling 19 things, and you're the 17th one they're selling. They don't sell much. Now we go straight to fleets because of that change, and that took us, that was a hard process because you got to change your pricing, you've got to change your approach, you got to change your sales funnel activity, you got to have different people calling on those folks. So I think that was one of the bigger mistakes we made at the beginning that had to change from a marketing standpoint.
Question here for you in the front.
First off, congratulations on getting to this point. That's always a great sign. You'd mentioned when you were talking about the variability aspects of this, and it peeked in my head about you had installations that would take 90 minutes, you would have installations that would take 14 hours, but somehow some sort of software or tracking stabilized that, but that seems to be more like a manual thing to me. So tell me how you got to that realization that was a problem, and then how you actually were able to resolve that issue with that.
Yeah, so one of the pros of our business and the cons for myself is that we work with every single truck, make, model, and year. So it's a lot of different pieces. And so we were able to understand how trucks work and to build software that helps, simplifies the parts of our installation, the components of it. So there's stuff that's coming off the computer system we can utilize versus having mechanical switches. We developed a special ignition plug, I call it, which cuts down about 30 minutes of installation time and any issues around it. And so we just thought innovatively and say, okay, what hurdles can we remove from this process that simplifies it? And we did that because we literally and physically got our hands dirty with mechanics underneath trucks, installing this thing, understanding where the roadblocks were, and trying to remove those. So that's how we use software and just some innovative things.
We have another one here in the middle.
The Obama administration just announced a major effort to increase the fuel economy of trucks nationwide. And so I view that as huge wins in your favor. But specific questions, what are you going to do to take advantage? How are you going to position yourself? And what's your idea to take advantage of these new federal efforts?
Oh, yeah, you're going to give that one to me. As a history major, I have no idea. Um, Actually, I'm not worried about that. I think it'll help, but frankly, that really more is an OEM issue, all the way back to the truck manufacturers. Right now, we have a huge opportunity in the next 18 to 36 months of solving a different problem. The problem we have is people are wasting gas. It does help their gas mileage, but they're wasting it. What I read about is that really has to do with making trucks and engines and stuff more efficient so they do better. Our product laid on top of that would still help, because if you have a great truck and a great engine, but you still idle all night, you're wasting gas. So our problem in some ways will be helped by that, the awareness of it, but our problem is damn simple. You don't run your damn air conditioner at night when it's not cooling. It turns the fan off. Turn the damn truck off when it doesn't need to heat or cool. If you need to charge the battery, turn it on, charge the battery, and turn it off. We waste so much stuff. I'm on a roll. Never mind. Crazy.
Got another question for you here.
Thanks for relating about your experiences since 2 years ago. We're about a year old in a completely different business, and I could probably point to very analogous shifts and pivots we had to do, including, by the way, how we sell. The question I have has to do with this, I'm going to call it a control panel for managers that you put together. How successful is that really? In other words, are all your customers doing it? And how did you get them to actually install it and use it?
So the control panel came because there's two pieces of it. One is the reporting piece, which shows them how good we're doing, and that's okay. The other piece is the diagnostic tool, where they actually can remotely manage their fleet. And this came because they would have 100 units in the field, 10 units in the field, and they couldn't change the battery voltage down one time for the whole entire fleet. So a lot of this simplifies their life a lot, so they're definitely embracing that piece of it. The reporting piece, they have onboard computers and everything, so it's our job to make sure that we have 60 seconds of their attention, show what we're doing good at, show if they need to change any parameters, and that's all we're focused on.
Question back left.
Hi, Harry. Hi, Ryan. Hey, so you've gone through this for 2 years now. You've talked to lots of customers. So the question I have for you is, what have you learned from your customers about future growth paths? What can you do that you didn't know you could do now that you're in the game?
Want this one?
Sure. I'm not held responsible for the specifics of my answers, so it's easier for me to do these. I think we're finding that we're solving a problem that the CFOs and the CEOs of companies love and the truck drivers hate, which is turning the truck on and off to make cabin comfort. We have that same problem that we're solving. It has to do with batteries going down. They love that. Turn the truck on, please, if the battery's going on. Don't do it to cool it. We're learning that. But the most important thing is we're now finding out that the communication they have about the truck, with the truck, and treating the truck as a retail unit that has a P&L, that has metrics they need to drive to, are huge. I talked to a fleet owner a couple years ago when I was more involved in the business, and he said, if I can get 0.2 miles per gallon better, the amount of money from a profit standpoint is crazy. I need to know this. I need to have the data that's coming in. I need to know what I can do with it. I need to be able to communicate with it, and I need to be able to have the drivers share in that benefit so we are aligned on objectives. So I think the answer is everything that happens in that truck that has to do with profitability is now on the table.
I have a question in the middle up front.
I threw it to you.
You had mentioned that you sold the product before you actually developed it. What steps did you take to develop the product within that 60-day time frame?
We had the product that start and stop the truck based on our patent, so we had that developed. What we had to build was the battery voltage sensor and the software around our cold weather condition and our battery condition. And so what that took was we had to do a reboard or printed circuit board redesign and get that manufactured. We had to do firmware updates, and we had to do software updates for our display unit, and then we had to go out and test, validate, and then actually ship that to the customer in 60 days. It was a busy time.
Quick question here in the front.
Ryan, I have a question about company culture. So Harry's written a book called Get Real Leadership, and I want to know, over the course of the last few years, as you guys have found the model and gotten closer to it, how has how have those leadership traits been applied to the company?
Great question, thank you. So for us, our owners empower everybody in a company to make the right decisions for the customer. And so for us, it's about being on site, learning, iterating, having the freedom to work to make the business successful, and that we're all aligned. That's really what it's all about.
Thanks for that, Nathan. A little shout out for my book. The proceeds go to charity, by the way, brain cancer research. I could give you a bunch of answers. I'll tell you the one that mattered to me, and I was giving a speech in Louisville yesterday about my book and about leadership. It had to do with how an organization treats mistakes. I don't have problems with mistakes. We're human, it's going to happen. I'm not talking about learning things, and I'm not talking about people that do deliberate mistakes. I'm talking about literally mistakes you make. If you're in the world we're in, it's going to happen. And if that bothers you, get out, stop. It doesn't bother me. Jeff Lynch, who runs this business and is my co-owner who lives in the East Coast, and Ryan, and now Keith and Logan, they know they're not going to get in trouble by making errors of commission. You make an error of omission where you sit around and don't do anything, I'm going to kick your ass. We need to do things, and we need to do things and do things because that's the only way to learn. This is not an easy business. We don't even know what we're going to be doing, but I think we're going to fight, and actually we're going to go over $1 million in revenue because these guys figured out a way to get a path to where we're going, and this thing has a chance to explode because they weren't worried about making mistakes and how I was going to react or Jeff was going to react to their mistakes.
Got a question right here in the middle.
Good morning. So I always try to bring the Fort Leavenworth perspective here. And if you look at the Iraq, miles and miles, tens of miles of Army trucks. Have you approached the Army or DOD about these solutions? Because cost savings of fuel would be huge for that.
Sean and I from the bunker met a few weeks ago about it, so he's starting that process for us. What that goes, I don't know, but we're starting that.
Another question here.
First off, fantastic presentation. I mean, I don't know if anyone helped you out with that at all, but maybe you buy him lunch or something, Capital Grill, just a suggestion. Second off,
what's your name?
Who gave this guy 4 cups of coffee? Everybody knows 1 cup of coffee for Harry. But you actually glossed over a stat. You said that you had signed up or secured a deal with the largest fleet in the world or something like. I mean, what can you tell more about that?
Well, we're not allowed to publicly state it, but it's one of the largest fleets in the world, and so there's only a few of them, so you probably recognize their logo and where they're located, if I said it.
That usually means that they like our product, they're going to put it in a few trucks, they're going to measure it, they're going to understand it, see what they do, see how they do it, and then the sales cycle leads to more sales. So we've now got several logos that are amazing. Yay. Because of these guys.
Got a question right here from Brian.
Hey guys, tell me about what's happening in your world for do you have competitors? How's that working out for you? You know, what's happening there?
Yes, we have competitors. If we didn't, I'd be a little worried. And so what we have is there's three things. One, you can idle all night and do nothing. That's a competitor. 2 is that these units called auxiliary power units. They're about 400 to 500 pounds. Think about a lawnmower diesel engine on the side of the trucks. So instead of idling their engines, they turn these other engines on. They're about $10,000 to $12,000 per unit, require a lot of maintenance, and they don't last very long. So that's another competitor. And then we have a product designed and manufactured by Detroit Diesel Engines, which is owned by Freightliner, who does similar to what we do, just in a different way, but they're on only Freightliner Cascadia trucks on Detroit Diesel Engines. So that actually helps us sell to fleets who have those type of trucks.
Question on the left.
Why wouldn't you just license this to the original equipment manufacturers?
Go ahead.
Let me take that one. If you know one and they'll buy it, the answer is we would. Who knows? We actually have not paid 1 iota attention to an exit strategy, but one of them that you would put on the table if you were going to map it is to go to the truck manufacturers and either license it to all of them because it's a great damn product, or you go to one of them and say, will you buy this from me? and then you get it as a differential advantage versus others. We tried that at the beginning. They laughed at us. They didn't care. We weren't big enough. I said, okay, we're going to kick ass in this thing. We're going to come back to you. We're going to say, now it's going to cost a little bit more, brother. So that's what our goal is.
Question here in the front.
So I got the impression you're running about $1 million annually, and I'm trying to understand what the total human complement in your company is right now, and how much of that is devoted to sales.
95 is devoted to sales.
Anybody that doesn't sell doesn't come in the morning. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we have a small, nimble company. We continue to grow the sales team. So that's where we're at. We use contractors for all our engineering and development and manufacturing. That's not the business we're in. We're a sales and marketing organization. So we will grow sales and marketing.
Question in the back.
In addition to the product revenue, do you have a services stream of revenue where, after you sell the products, you get continued revenue from your customers?
Yeah, well, not today. We're working on that actively, and we talk about it as like a truck app store or an app store for your truck. Because we have an Android tablet with connectivity already in the trucks, we've had inquiries about building some other apps that are on a monthly recurring SaaS model type product. Again, we will not build that until they buy. And so we're kind of just running those traps until they buy, and then we'll go build it.
This goes to the question previously of where we're going. These kind of things are being asked about and pulled through for our business because we're getting to the right people with the right product that has the data, and so that'll happen. I think that'll happen by the end of the year.
Another question here in the front.
Okay, so you piqued my interest with the no exit strategy, because the number one rule of an entrepreneurship when you're looking for funding is you have to have a good exit strategy. And as someone who's in the middle of a business right now, I'm just curious as to how pervasive that is in the marketplace, and what was your mindset as a key investor in this, saying, hey, I just believe in this, or how did the funding and everything else come to pass? What was your mindset on that from an investor standpoint?
I'm trying to figure out how much to share. Outside voice, inside voice. I walked away from Embark in 2009 and was very blessed and decided that I wanted to majority own 4 companies. I've only got one now. I want to own them. And the reason why I want to do it is I want to employ my friends. I get very emotional about this. I don't give a damn about my exit strategy. It'll play out the way it wants. I'm doing this because I love Kansas City. I want to employ great people who happen to be my friends, and I love being involved. I am not an entrepreneur. I'm a crazy man. I'm a businessman. I'm much more conservative than I should be. That's why I don't run this. I don't show up in the startup village. It makes me nervous. Thank God they got beer. I'd never go down there. And so I didn't worry about that because it was my money and I could do any damn thing I wanted. And that's why I want to be the majority owner of the companies I own. But the way I operate, I want the people that work for me to say, I got this for you, with you, and we're going to do it. And it sounds this apple pie Chevrolet thing, but that's what I got into it for, and that's what I'm doing.
Question your left.
Can you talk a little bit more about your relationship with your design and manufacturing partners? The iteration process through those 60 days, what were the joys that you experienced with them as well as the challenges?
The joys are easy. They're really, really good. And I'm not an engineer, so it works. That's all that matters. Challenges is like any other employee or contractor. It's just missing delivery dates or miscommunication. But ultimately, they're really good at what they do, and we're happy with our suppliers. It's normal. It happens in everyday life, whether they were employees or whether they're contractors. Communication is key.
Thank you. One more question for you. Our patent pending question is, what can we do for you as a community?
Yeah, so I thought about this for a while because I debated whether I even came up here because I didn't want to pitch IdleSmart. You know what? That wasn't the point of 1 million cups. And so for us, what we really need help with and what we're really not very good at is like marketing. And when we have more money, we go hire more salespeople who cold call and get on the phones and meet with customers and close the deals. And for us, we're not very good at positioning or marketing or doing a marketing strategy, connecting with PR. And so what the audience could do for us, they could really help, some advice to me on the right routes for me to go and work with to get marketing done successfully for us. We don't have money to spend, but we got to do something better.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
I have 2 answers to that real quick.
Real quick.
First of all, if you know anybody that owns trucks, let them know. And if you don't, buy a truck and buy a unit, and then we're good, okay?
Thank you. We've got just a couple of quick announcements for you. We've got, if you've got an announcement sheet, the KC Roundtable Breakfast for 20 to 30-something entrepreneurs is coming up Thursday, June 4th. ECJC's got an Angel Series coming up, valuation of an early stage company. That's June 4th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the ECJC. And 1 week KC, let's celebrate entrepreneurship in Kansas City. May 29th through June, all the way through June 5th. We also want to bring up Morgan from the Innovation Center food truck event to make a quick announcement. Morgan, are you here? There you are. Got a whole team with you.
Everybody.
Welcome.
This is a team sport, people. All right, who is aware that it is 1 week KC? Awesome. Who went to the rookie lunch? Awesome. Who went to E-Day at the K? Fantastic. Who's going to Food Truck Fridays down at the Roastery, the KC Food Truck Face-Off? Even better. Thanks, guys. I brought you my team to talk to you today, and we're going to be serious for about 45 seconds, and then we're going to be a whole lot of fun. Here's a preview of the fun. Hold that bad boy up, Brandon. That's what's on the line, folks. We put together a great event that paired up entrepreneurship education. It paired up food culture. It paired up an actual food truck operator and small business owner. And we teamed up with the Innovation Center, which is the 3rd largest food incubator in the nation. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Oh, you knew that. All right, that's cool. So why we did that is because it's really important that everybody in the metro be together in this. If we want to be the most entrepreneurial city in the United States, then it's got to be everywhere. It's got to be all levels. It's got to be food truckers. It's got to be the education folks. You're going to need the library behind you. Just trust me on that part. It's got to be everybody from the top to the bottom. So we're going to be highlighting art entrepreneurism that day. We're going to be highlighting food trucks. You're going to hear from a lot of great people. And here's the fun part. You're going to eat a lot of great food. You're going to get to eat from 4 different trucks plus samples from 2 microbrews at the Roastery. What better place is that under the plane than to do that? And you're going to vote on who gets this. That lovely trophy made by Xander here. So please join us that day. KC Food Truck Face-Off, you can find us on Eventbrite. Use the code 1, capital M, capital C today. You'll get $10 off the ticket price. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Morgan. Toby, if you want to come on up and tell us a little bit about what's coming up next. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, come on up. My panel. Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different, but keeping with the alumni and bringing people who've presented at 1 Million Cups back to talk to us. We're going to have 3 folks. I'm going to have them introduce themselves here in just a second, who have done things in and around and on the stage and presenting and you know, tricked us, all that good stuff. So I'm going to have these guys introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask them to tell a little bit more about sort of their journey of where they are now, how they got here, and some of the tough decisions that it took along the way to get there. So Ben, why don't we start with you?
Great. I'm Ben Cottrell, co-founder and CTO of DoodleKit, which is a website builder for small businesses. I also have a consulting business where I help people solve technology problems. Do you want to do the intros first?
We'll do the intros, sure.
Okay.
I'm Alex Altamari. I'm a local entrepreneur and I'm an investor as well.
Hi, my name is Linda Buckner, and I'm the co-founder and president of a nonprofit organization called Mind Drive, which is a project-based learning program for high school students that are in need of an educational intervention.
All right, so when I sent you all the email that said, hey, will you join us up here on the stage and talk about tough decisions and sort of the history of how you got to where you are, because there's been lots of twists and turns for each of you that are a little bit different. So I don't know, Alex, if you can just sort of give a really brief history of some of the things that you've been involved with, and then we'll get to the difficult part.
Yeah, well, I faced a lot of difficult decisions, and I've made both good and bad decisions in those moments. I co-founded Beta Blocks, which was an incubator, or is still an incubator here in Kansas City, and in my time as CEO there were 74 startups who came through, and so every day I was at the table trying to help these entrepreneurs face critical, tough decisions. So we got a lot of practice doing that. Do you want me to go on into the process of
Sure,
what
yeah,
we
a
used?
little bit.
The best advice I ever received on the subject came from one of my mentors, Charlie Newell, who's a great, tremendously successful entrepreneur here in Kansas City and now fund manager. And he said, Alex, it's all about options. Every business person should pursue options. So in any situation when everything seems like, well, there's no good outcome or there's no good way forward, I boil it down to which path opens options instead of closes options. And I've gone after that. It's made a big difference.
Cool, thanks. And so, Linda, do you want to tell a little bit more about Mind Drive and kind of how long has it been around? And I know that you, at the beginning, as you were co-founding, you were also kind of keeping your day job, so to speak, and then there was at some point then the decision to really go full-time with that.
Sure. So Mind Drive as a nonprofit really started as an after-school program in one high school. And then when we got our 501c3 status and became a standalone, it was really important to reach out to the whole community and to involve as many kids as possible. And so we're a Saturday program and an after-school evening program. And building that the first 3 years in startup mode, I did have to keep my day job. I'm a marketing consultant, and there wasn't a budget to pay salaries for the first 3 years. So it's kind of like really underestimating the time that it takes to be in startup mode, and so I basically didn't sleep for the first 3 years.
That's normal. So Ben?
Well, we
several different avenues, but I think DoodleKit's probably good.
Yeah, well, I started DoodleKit in 2006 with a business partner. We were both programmers at a health insurance company. And we faced a lot of tough decisions because, number one, we were programmers and not entrepreneurs or marketers, or we don't really have any business development experience, and so a lot of the decisions we made were from reading books and things like that. And we made decisions like consciously not looking for investment, which is something now that I'm not sure if that was the right decision, but not that there was really anything back then that we could have really tapped into in Kansas City, but a lot of decisions that we had to make without a lot of help and without a lot of education that definitely could have gone one way or another. But.
So one of the things that I mentioned when I was talking to you all, and one of the things that I think we see every week here, is that as people have that aha moment of there has to be a better way, and this is the organization or the company or whatever this is where I'm gonna go. I think that there's a feeling once they're up here presenting that, that guided and just sort of help them make every single decision. But not every decision is a choice between a good and a bad option. There's often two bad options or two good options. And so I'm going to ask each of you to sort of say a couple of things about where you are now, and then looking back at decisions that maybe were difficult back then, and maybe you thought was a bad decision, but now you look back and there's no way I would be where I am now without having made that. So I'm going to start with you, Linda.
Well, one of our goals at MindDrive is to reach more kids. I mean, obviously, we'd like to expand our program in Kansas City as much as we could. I think that, well, 2 years ago, we took a trip with our students and we created a big marketing campaign called the Social Field Tour. And we had no idea the amount of attention that we would get. We ended up with almost 500 million social media impressions, and the word was spread around the country and around the world. And what we weren't prepared for is answering that question of, you know, why couldn't there be a MindDrive in my city? And so we started off just kind of being open source with the information. Every phone call that we got, and we got contacted by, I think, about 10 different cities around the country. And then I met with a couple of alums from the Kauffman Foundation who really kind of helped us think of scalability and what that would look like. And we put together this huge document of kind of what a franchise of MindDrive would look like. And you know, the time that we spent on those calls, there was one group in particular that we met with every week for an hour on a hangout. And honestly, none of them started a MindDrive. And so that, like, looking back, I feel like, you know, that is so much time and energy that I'll never get back. I mean, you know, I don't regret it because it allowed us to sort of think through what that model would be. And we have a really great document that, you know, we could probably seek some funding for. But bandwidth-wise, we just weren't at that place that we could really offer as much. And so, like, the decision to pivot from that energy and really concentrate on expanding in Kansas City, I think was one of the best decisions that came out of that.
That's a great story. Thanks. So, guys, either one of you.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. The one thing that I always go back and forth on is right now DoodleKit is what you would pretty much call a lifestyle business. It's not a huge, we're not going to be sold to Google or anything like that. And I always kind of go back and, you know, what if we had got some investment? Could we be Squarespace or Weebly or something like that? But then I start to ask myself, well, what would that look like? And if we had taken an investment, maybe it wouldn't be the right investor. Maybe we'd be beholden to somebody. Maybe we would have had to try to grow this to something that would eventually have failed because we just didn't have the right pieces together. But at the same time, now I've run a business successfully, a profitable business for 9 years. It's something that's given me a source of revenue, something that's helped me do other things, work on other companies. And so that's definitely something that I always kind of go back and forth on. What could things be like? I dream about going down that road of you know, getting the funding and having that dream scenario. But that's just one of many things that.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I had to think for a minute. Thanks. You know, one of the biggest, I guess, failures or missed decisions we made goes back to one of my favorite things that Ryan said in his presentation with IdleSmart was that proven methods don't always work. When we opened Beta Blocks, we hired someone who was a former CFO of one of the largest companies in town, turned college professor to teach our entrepreneurs a course on entrepreneurship. And that was one of the biggest failures when we were launching because he got up and talked about the theory of entrepreneurship, which really boiled down to how to scale a small business, but it wasn't things that you could use that day to help start a business. So we had to redo all of that and create a curriculum from scratch, covering things like how do you run a Google pay-per-click ad campaign, or things that you could use that day. Because we realized entrepreneurship isn't startups, and the academia part of it isn't the tangible, useful tools. But you know, what it boils down to is success isn't final and failure isn't fatal. You just have to keep moving on.
Absolutely. Why don't we open it up to questions? Anybody has any questions for these folks? We can run around. Brian, go for it.
I'm going to ask a question for Ben. Ben, if I remember correctly, you have a lot of people coming to DoodleKit, kind of signing up for the product, and then I want to say the term conversion. Are they converting for you? Are they using the product, or are they just kind of initially interested in it? And then what are you doing to help improve or make them into clients?
Yeah, so we get about 250 people signing up every day for a free website. However, our conversion to upgrades is not that great. And this is, there are a lot of things that I could talk about. We always focused on the product and trying to make the product better, and that only took us so far. That took us basically to pretty much where we're at today. And at a certain point, as programmers, we always thought, let's just make the tool better, more people will buy it. And that just hit a plateau at one point in time. And so then we really had to go out of our area of expertise and start to look at things like user acquisition and growth hacking and onboarding and things like that. And that, now going into that, having to step outside of our comfort zone, we've been able to start growing a little bit more by doing things like drip email campaigns and improving, basically kind of like Ryan said earlier, connecting with our customer and being more intimate, even though it's sort of difficult because we're trying to build this large business where you're dealing with thousands of customers every day. It's difficult to have that personal interaction. But what I learned is it's not that difficult. You can reach out to people and we send out an email to all, 2 days after somebody signs up that's personal from me saying, how can I help you? And I'll actually respond to that instead of it just going into some marketing automation thing. So a lot of different lessons that we learned about specifically, having to not focus so much on the product, focus more on marketing and onboarding, and that has been a challenge for us.
Okay, so many startups run their business via email until they get so large they realize they need a different solution. So what solutions do you use, like Asana and such, to manage your business and the lessons learned getting there?
We did run DoodleKit support through email for a long time, and it did get very difficult, and so we started using Zendesk to manage our customer support, and we've used Basecamp and Campfire for communication and things like that.
Got a question here in the back.
Do you have any tools?
Just to manage our volunteers, we use VolunteerMark, but we're just kind of on Google Drive.
For Mindrive.
Question here.
Yeah, Linda, could you tell a little bit about how your mentoring program has developed and how that has been successful and how people can get involved in your program through the mentoring program?
Sure. I love that question. So we are mentor-based, heavy volunteer-based program. We recruit mentors in different ways. Everyone in this room is a potential mentor at Mindrive. It's really about working one-on-one and creating relationships with students who really don't have role models in their lives. And so we have 2 learning tracks. One is in contemporary communications, and so people that are kind of in that industry in graphic design or digital media or broadcast media are really kind of drawn to that program. And then our automotive design studio is another opportunity that has a couple of classes underneath that, including welding and 3D CAD and more of an innovation incubator where they're building a solar light project. And that program attracts engineers, architects, businessmen, entrepreneurs, all kinds of people that are really just kind of interested in that process. We ask for our mentors to be as committed to the program as they can be, with 80% participation. And we really work hard on not having volunteer burnout, because I think that can be a real issue for such a commitment. Our commitment is 32 Saturdays, 4 hours a Saturday. And so we've also created opportunities for there to be guest speakers. So you could also, just come and share your knowledge as an entrepreneur with the students, or expertise in electricity or structure design or anything like that. We can kind of work into our program as a guest speaker. We've also had people come and teach modules like come for 4 weekends in a row or 5 weekends in a row and really lead a class. And so there's many, many ways for the community to become involved, and we appreciate every single one of them.
Question here on the front.
So since the topic is tough decisions, we're all entrepreneurs and we're all generally solitary in our own ways. Usually there's one partner that drives any particular business. And just for me personally, I guess everybody runs through that point where you hit that plateau. You've got the business, it's working okay. It hasn't got to the point where you want it to. You see that there's potential there, but there's a block and you just can't get it out of the way. What have you guys done when you've experienced that to push through that block and to revitalize yourself? Because without that motivation and that drive, the company's just going to shrivel up and die.
One of the things that's really helped me, honestly, is events like this. I started coming to 1 Million Cups, way back when it first started, and every time I come here, and it could not even be a direct thing. It's not that somebody's even on the stage is saying something directly to me, but just being out here, hearing different things, sparks something in my head that says, "Wow, I never thought about looking at my business from that perspective." Because yeah, you sit in your office and you only have what's in your mind, and you can't get anything else unless you actually go out and talk to other people. That's been very helpful for me.
Yeah, and I got to echo that. It's the community, getting out and either volunteering or just being part of the community. There's so much energy in the entrepreneurship community here in Kansas City and across the nation, and being a part of that really drives it and brings new inspiration and helps you see things that you didn't see before.
One thing I would share about, it's a little bit of a pivot from your question, but I feel like we learn every single year from our students. So really listening to the people that we serve and what their needs are. And really, this year is a perfect example, recognizing how few tools a lot of our high school students have in terms of going to the workplace. And so, we're just constantly evolving, constantly changing sort of what we can offer them and exploring that with corporate partners and people who are willing to offer job shadowing or internships or apprenticeships. And so, it just kind of, it's not really a block necessarily, but when you recognize that, oh man, this is really missing in the constituents that we serve, and we're not providing a solution. And so sort of being willing to look at those things and making sure that you're lining up with your mission, but still really solving the problems of the people that you serve.
If I can circle back kind of with your question to Alex, when you and I spoke a little while ago, you said that you felt like a lot of your directions of things that you've done have come because there was something that really pissed you off about some situation. So, how do you, that is a great starting point, but then as you start putting together the solution of, okay, I'm going to do this, then, to your point, there's a point at which that only carries you so far, and then maybe an example of something that you've done to help get over a hurdle, get past that.
Yeah, anger and frustration are a great motivator. But a lot of it is, once you are the initial catalyst for something, surrounding yourself with the right people who can bring inspiration, who come from different walks of life and different backgrounds and can offer unique perspectives, and really trusting them and handing off the tasks and duties and responsibilities to them. It's something that you can't do soon enough. When you have an idea and you have a pursuit and you're on a mission, is bring people around you and give them, whether it's equity or incentive, to work and to believe in this, and trust them to help you carry it forward.
Got a question here to your right.
Yeah, that plays right into my question. I'm starting a grassroots organization, just brought in volunteers, just brought in another coordinator. I still have this big vision locked in my head, and I'm starting to delegate some of the responsibility. What more can you do to motivate them, to have them buy into this vision, and to release some of the workload you have on yourselves?
So read Huck Finn, and at the end, people are paying him to paint the fence, right? Or Drive by Dan Pink. It's creating incentive for people, goes beyond just giving them money, here, let me pay you to do this. That actually doesn't work in almost any circumstance. So you have to find what triggers them and what drives them to get them involved, show meaning and purpose, and offer that.
Linda, can you speak to that?
I would really echo that, provide meaning and purpose piece, because everybody's got a desire to help other people, and through testimonials and storytelling and ways to get the word out and engage people in your story and get them to buy into your story, I think it is about meaning and purpose and that alignment.
Another startup that I worked on, one of the things that I really tried to do was challenge people to do more than they believe was possible, and really I think that giving somebody a challenge and not letting them limit themselves gets them motivated to work and to do more.
Question for you, Ben, as an investor, what advice would you give to a startup as to how long to bootstrap and when is it time to go out and actually try to raise capital?
That's a great question. I think the first question is whether you want to raise capital or not, and that's a very, that's a very personal question, and it has to do with what you want to do as a business. But I think that if I were to do it again, I would probably, if I were starting with a really small seed idea, I would definitely try to get a little bit of angel investment pretty quickly, because you have to have that capital to move forward. At every step, there are all these steps that you reach when you're growing a business. I think the first major step is, well, I guess the first major step is building a product, but then after that, you have to start hiring people. And that, I think, is where a lot of people get stuck, is that they can't make that first hire. And I feel like that's kind of when business really started to grow. And you really, it's almost this law of averages where you can't make enough money to support the people that are working on it and how everything operates, and still have extra capital to hire somebody. So I feel like that's really a good point at which to start looking for investment.
Isn't it a tough decision to make to try to hire on staff while you're still like in a non-revenue state?
It's the worst. I mean, I feel like that is one of the most critical points that any business is making that first decision. But you have to make that step, or you're not going to grow. You're just going to be stagnant.
I see Alex shaking his head as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just thinking about this, and I was asked that a lot. Should we raise capital, or even like, should I invest in company this or that? And I look at it, and it's like, goes back to, does this create options or limit options? And it does both. So you got to weigh the two. If you have the option to create a product and self-fund that, then wonderful. You leave your options open, because taking money limits your options in the sense that now you've set a valuation for your company. And so you're going to make a lot of people squirm and unhappy if you have to lower that valuation to get money in the future. So you're going to have to increase the valuation the next time you go out to raise money, if you need to raise money in the future. But that said, if you don't have the option to get to your MVP, or if you really need a critical person in your company, like a developer to code the thing, you may not have any other options other than to raise money.
And I can speak from personal experience, no matter how much you try to drill it into your own skull that you're not going to spend more money than you need to, you're going to spend more money than you need to. And that's what's one of the toughest parts about raising money is managing that.
Linda, can you speak a little bit to that? I mean, very different situation, but at the same time, trying to figure out, when you have a partner, and then how to bring on other people, how to create these other avenues that are a little bit different than what the core idea that you started with. So.
Yeah, I mean, for a nonprofit, of course, you have to start raising money immediately, right out of the gate. But one of the things I think we're really proud of at MindDrive is that the money that we've been granted, or the foundations that support us, the individuals that support us, do not dictate what we are and who we become. And we went after a National Science Foundation grant, and we didn't get it. And it was kind of like one of those gifts you didn't know you were going to get, because we would have really been beholden to them to be something different than what we became. So, just kind of like like Alex said, leaving your options open and keeping the control is true with fundraising as well.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. We're going to go for it, Courtney. We're done. We're out of time. Are you going or am I going? Thank you all so much. That's going to be our show. Thank you for coming to 1 Million Cups. We'll be back here next week, every Wednesday, 9 to 10. And we'll see you then. Everybody stay dry and out of the flash flood warnings that we've been having.